A new police canine facility, the 2020 homeless count, and the Citizens Environmental Academy. Welcome to Lexington Now. It's the week of February 10th, 2020. I'm your host, Neil Noah. Lexington police have opened a new canine facility to house and train our four-legged officers, replacing the old one built in the 1960s. We were there for the ceremony.
Welcome to the new canine facility, and it's a great day to be a police officer's best friend in Lexington. I want to recognize the late Assistant Chief Kenny Watson, and you'll see the plaque over here about him, who led the canine unit and built our first kennel along with other officers. And I'm so pleased to welcome Sue Martis. Officer Roy Martis was killed in 1985 in the line of duty while tracking a homicide suspect with his dog Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're taking a big step forward for very important members of our police department, our canine officers. This facility will improve their quality of life. Our first canine unit opened in 1968. This replacement is long overdue. This new facility is designed to reduce stress and injuries. There's room for grooming, veterinary services, training, and exercise. And there is space for the future. This kennel can accommodate 20 dogs. We currently have 13 canines, and the sheriff's office will house 2 dogs here. This will be a busy place. Our canine unit is in great demand. In 2019, it responded to 1,014 calls for service, a 21% increase over the previous year. Canine calls for service include tracking subjects, building searches, and narcotics deployments. Just as officers and their four-legged partners help keep Lexington safe, it's important that we ensure that our canine officers have a safe place to work, train, and live. It's great to be able to welcome our police canine unit to its new home. It's long overdue. And now I'd like to call on the chief for a few remarks.
Today is a special day in the history of the department and canine unit, a history that dates back to 1962, when Lexington Police established the first canine unit in the state with Officer Kenny Watson. In 1968, Watson and other officers built the kennel located up the road at Old Frankfort, Pike, and Forbes Road. Over the years, many officers and dogs have left their mark on the unit. Most notably, Officer Roy Martis, who was tragically killed in 1985. Today has been a long time coming, and it wouldn't be possible without the support of city leaders in our community. Our officers and their partners train and work tirelessly to keep Lexington safe. I think Chief Watson and Officer Martis would be proud of this new facility. We're proud of it, and we're looking forward to using this space for many years to come. The canine officers that work for us, they're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on call whenever we need them, in any kind of adverse conditions and any kind of weather. I think the city leaders and our community recognize that if they're going to give their best, they need the best. And this facility is testament to that. So thank you.
Lexington's annual homeless count took place recently, and with it comes some good news. Polly Ruddick explains.
So the origination of the actual point-in-time count came back in about 2005 from the Housing and Urban Development at the federal level. They kind of wanted to get a better snapshot of what happens on any given night in your local community. So Lexington has been doing this kind of point-in-time count since 2005. It's been under different groups and under different leadership, but the overall count has not changed very much since 2005. And what that gives us the ability to do, we do it on the same time every year, almost the same date. It's the last Wednesday of January of every single year. We call it the Lex Count now. And you get volunteers, and there's 3 categories of those experiencing homelessness that we can count. Unsheltered, living in a place not meant for human habitation, emergency shelter, and those transitional housing projects that are dedicated to serve people who are experiencing homelessness. Those are the only 3 categories we've been able to count, ever really been able to count under HUD's guidelines. So ultimately, this number affects our federal funding. And the reason that HUD does a snapshot is it gives you a point in time, hence the name, of what your homeless population really looks like. So demographics, how big, where are they at, where are they located, and you can compare it year over year over year. Now, a point in time is very different than those annual numbers that we see. Both get submitted to HUD, both affect our funding. But by doing it the same Wednesday of every single year in the middle of winter, we, in the same methodology over and over, we can easily compare apples to apples. So we can compare years upon years of trends. So you start looking at ages, you start looking at females, males, gender, you start looking at emergency shelter versus unsheltered. Every single year since 2014 that the Office of Homelessness has been kind of overseeing this count, we've had more and more volunteers every single year, which allows us to go to more and more places, which allows us to access more and more people. So this and we're not seeing this increase. So for example, last year in 2019, that data was released the end of December. West Coast saw huge increases in their unsheltered homeless over year after year. Well, that kind of tells them that not only is their annual population growing, but on any given night, their overall population that are experiencing homelessness on any given night is increasing. So here in Lexington, we've pretty much remained pretty steady over the last 3 years. We saw some really big decreases right when the office was created, and there was a lot of money being reallocated to permanent housing, and we were really striving to become that permanent housing community, and we made it. About 2 years ago, we finally, reallocated all our funding and put a lot of new programs in the system, and you could see the impact that had. So what has happened the last 2 years is that we've remained flat in our funding. So even though the federal government, we're getting records amounts of continuum of care funding into Lexington, Fayette County, it's not enough to make that great impact that we had by reallocating $1.5 million over 2 or 3 years. So we are seeing decreases, not only in our point in time count, but also annually. So we have some shelters that in 2014 were serving 2,500 individuals, unique individuals that are now only serving about 1,500. So even annually, we're seeing some pretty big decreases in folks coming into our system and experiencing homelessness.
After the break, we talk Citizens Environmental Academy. Welcome back to Lexington Now. The Citizens Environmental Academy is now accepting applications for its next class. We caught up with some participants to get their perspective on the academy.
It was the first time that the CEA was being offered 2 years ago, and I think I found out about it through just City Parks and Recreation. They were recruiting for it as a new program, and I was very fortunate to hear about it for the first year.
Well, I had heard about Citizens Environmental Academy last time and stuff, and we thought about it, and I'm recently retired from UK and looking for opportunities to build, and I did a lot of work in sustainability at UK, so when I heard about Citizens Environmental Academy, it seems a natural thing, so applied for it and got a chance to get in.
Our project is called the Stonewall Creek Riparian Project, and we've done a lot of assessment, a geologic assessment, a wildlife assessment, water quality, and learned so much, and we're working on opening it up for education and wildlife viewing and water quality.
I think for just any resident of Lexington, kind of getting an overview of all the different things that the Department of Environmental Quality and Public Works does, as well as some of the associated departments. This is probably the best way for you to learn about all those things. And then even more than that, the ability to get some funding for a self-directed project is really unique and lets any citizen just kind of intervene in the city, get involved, create some projects. It's a really unique opportunity. It's something that doesn't exist anywhere else that I've seen.
The one thing that the Citizens Environmental Academy has taught me is that one person can make a difference. And that's what makes this project so great. Once you start talking about it with neighbors and kids and other groups, we've gotten all these other partners involved. That's been a great enlivening of the neighborhood to work on this park.
One of the things we talk about, I've been telling my friends, is how much confidence we have in our government officials, the kind of commitment they have to whether it's running the traffic lights energy efficient way in the buildings and the water quality and stuff, and getting behind the scenes and learning about that's really been fascinating for me and giving me more confidence that we've got good people around us.
One day I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw this pop-up that talked about folks in Lexington who might be really interested in the environment and helping to take care of it. And I thought that was right up my alley. And so I applied for that, and it was a really good decision.
If you've got a passion for anything environmental or city works, it just gives you that great up-close personal view of things you wouldn't normally get to learn about.
Applications are being accepted throughout February and March. We may not be getting much in the way of winter weather this season, but Lexington is prepared when snow and ice cover our streets. Rob Allen has the details.
The snow plan helps us prioritize how we clear our streets and roads after we get freezing precipitation. What it does is it ranks our roads by traffic count and facilities. For example, a rank 1 road would be Nicholasville Road, which has both UK Hospital and Central Baptist, Fayette Mall. It's got a huge traffic count of probably 50,000 cars a day. And then an example of a rank 4 road would be Cindy Blair in Stonewall neighborhood, which is the main one of the main roads, and it has a lower traffic count but still significant, and is within a half mile of most of the residences. Some other ranking criteria: school bus routes, Lextran routes. We take care of state roads inside New Circle, so everything inside New Circle is city maintenance. Outside of New Circle and Man of War, it's divided up between the county and the state. For example, the state takes care of New Circle, they take care of the interstate. When we get to the rural roads, some of them are state routes and some of them are city routes. Our snow plan is designed to be completed 36 hours after the snowfall ends. So typically we start with a rank 1 road and we proceed through the ranks executing the plan. Sometimes we start with rank 4 and work backwards. Usually that's like if it starts to snow during rush hour and we've already put out salt on the rank 1s, we'll start in the neighborhoods to try and get folks out. Most of the snow events are 0 to 3 inches. We execute the first part of the plan. If it's 3 to 8 inches, then we add additional streets in the neighborhoods. And if it's 8 inches or more, you're talking all hands on deck. We'll have to bring in contractors, and we try to get every road that we can get a truck down. We constantly monitor the weather. We have half of the division on call at any one time, and we try to take a proactive approach, whether it's putting down salt brine ahead of time or having people loaded and ready to go if, for example, it goes from rain into snow, being able to salt bridges and hills. Salt only works to about 25 degrees. Any lower than that, then we have to start using chemical additives. The other element is there needs to be traffic to turn the salt into a brine solution. And what we're trying to accomplish is to keep ice and snow from bonding to the asphalt. Our new salt barn actually doubles our capacity. It's a 7,000 ton salt barn. This one will hold 3,000 tons. An average year we use 12,000, and so our goal was to have almost 100% undercover. So we certainly try to have a certain amount of salt on hand. Typically we will have around 6,000 tons left over from the previous year if we're lucky, anywhere from 2 to 6, and then we try to keep on hand at any one time 3 to 6,000. Every year we do reevaluate the snow plan. Best case scenario is you talk to your council person, and we meet with them annually as we meet with Fayette County Public Schools and Lextran and UK, all the major stakeholders. What folks need to realize is we have finite resources, however, so if we add a road, we may have to take off a road. People that are interested in more detail for the snow plan can access it at lexingtonky.gov /snowplan, and there's a lot more detail in there.
There's a busy week ahead for Lex TV meeting coverage. Here's a look. That's all for this week, but as always, you can keep up with us on social media, check out the latest traffic updates on Twitter @LexRex, or catch our live traffic cams on lexingtonky.gov. For all of us at Lex TV, I'm Neil Noah, and that's it for now.